Good evening, everybody. Let's talk crypto. I see you, Brett, getting your avocado on your toast. He's ready to go. Robert's here. Look, we wanted to do a crypto show, but I'm based in New Zealand, right? You can tell from my accent, it's a little bit goofy. And I go on to the morning show. I go on to the morning show every Friday because it's Crypto Friday, right? We need to talk about crypto markets on a Friday. But because it's my show, I'm like, you know what? I'm not staying up till 2 in the morning on a Friday, on a Saturday night, just to talk crypto. We're doing it on my time. We're doing it on my time, baby. So you're right, Robert. We are now on Louis time. We're now on New Zealand time. But look, we needed to have a crypto show because there is a tremendous amount of opportunity in this market. And even though things are a little bit messy, don't get me wrong, ever since October the 10th, we saw that massive sell-off in a lot of these cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of opportunity building under the surface. So what better time to be talking about the crypto markets every single week than right now when you're starting to see all of this stuff flourishing beneath the surface. You're seeing Wall Street finally coming on chain. You're seeing a lot of these privacy tokens really taking off. You're obviously seeing a lot of institutions now getting involved with these whole ETFs, and the ETFs have got options now. And so there's a lot of opportunity if you know where to look, if you know how to navigate the market. So this is what this show is for. This is what this entire space is for, where we can just get together in the evening, or should I say it's my afternoon, and just talk about what's actually happening in the market, how to make money, how I'm making money, the key trends that I'm looking at, because I'm so deep into this space. And so what are we going to talk about today? What are we talking about today? So I just want to go around the block, no pun intended, around the block, the blockchain, and then just reiterate what the major themes are heading into 2026. 2025 has been a bit lackluster for crypto. Bitcoin is basically flat in a year where stocks are going up. You could pick up a penny on the street and you probably outperformed Bitcoin investors. And so, a homeless guy going on the street and finding a penny probably outperformed someone putting that same penny into Bitcoin. So it's been a little bit quiet, but there's a lot of stuff brewing under the surface. So I want to talk about what is actually happening. And then I want to talk about one of the most ambitious crypto projects that ever hit the market, ever. It failed. Why did it fail? Is it going to potentially turn around? And then I want to talk about just 3 scams that I still can't believe people own. Every time I talk to people about crypto, I say, hey, look, I'm involved in the crypto markets. 3 cryptocurrencies always come up in conversation. Outside Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, there's 3 cryptocurrencies that everybody asks me about. And I'm like, we're in 2025 and you still own this. You still own this piece of garbage. So I just want to put the record straight on those 3 things that I just think are just complete scams that should have no place in investors' portfolios. And so without further ado, I just want to jump straight into it. Look, I'm going to share my screen. Just give me 1 second. Let me just go over here. I want to share this tab. So a lot of these big institutions are coming in. Coinbase is one of them, right? They dropped this big report just a few weeks ago, back in November. And it's the Coinbase Ventures Ideas we are excited for in 2026. These are, Coinbase is literally the best crypto exchange on the planet. These guys are connected like nobody else. They've got their own venture wing where they're investing in new crypto startups and new crypto projects that are literally minting new millionaires every single week. And so these guys have got the finger on the pulse like nobody else. And so I want to be paying attention to what they're seeing, what's happening in 2026. Because again, 2025, a bit lackluster, but looking forward, there's a tremendous amount of activity. So what are they seeing? And the first thing that comes up, real world assets. You see this all the time. You see this all the time in crypto markets, right? This whole RWA. It's the 3 letters. No, I've got a whiteboard here. I've got a little pen. RWA. I want you to remember these 3 letters. RWA. Those are the 3 letters. The 3 letters you need to remember, because what's happening right now is that Wall Street, they often look at crypto and they just watch all these degens just battle testing it out. You know, you see, I feel like you go on Twitter, every time Bitcoin is down, you go on Twitter and you just see, 100 million positions liquidated, 200 million positions liquidated. And it's like, what are these people doing? Like, they're just out here just literally leverage trading crypto and they don't know what they're doing, right? But then Wall Street watches from the sidelines and they're looking at all of these degens blowing up and just being reckless. And they're saying, hey, you know what? We can actually borrow some of that technology for ourselves. We are sending money around the world and it's so inefficient. It hasn't changed in decades and decades. And look, so I'm from New Zealand. I live in New Zealand, right? You can tell by the goofy accent. If I were to send any of you, I assume you're probably watching from the great country of the United States of America. If I were to send you $10, just 10 US dollars from New Zealand to the US, that would take days. If I sent that to you on a Saturday, it wouldn't clear until next week. It would be expensive. And it is just in 2025, we've got flying cars, we've got artificial intelligence. It would take days for me just to send you $10 on an electronic network. Like, how is that the case? And so a lot of these big financial institutions are looking at this and they're saying, hey, you know what? We can actually borrow that technology and we can use it for ourselves to make everything more efficient. And so there was a big article in The Economist just a few days ago, actually. And it was just summarizing an interview that Larry Fink had. And so I had this guy, the CEO, the co-founder of the largest asset manager in the world. They manage $13.5 trillion, right? Largest by far. And he says that tokenization, those three letters, will be a more impactful industry than artificial intelligence. And he said that within the space of 2 to 3 years, we're going to see a significant portion of Wall Street's and traditional financial systems running on that, real world assets, running on tokenization. So what is that? It's basically when you take a traditional asset like commodities or bonds or dollars and you just send them over crypto rails. Because if I were to send you Bitcoin, it just settles like that. Within the space of a few minutes, it's really cheap. Wall Street is obviously going to be looking at that. And so one of the particular technologies that I'm invested in, I think it's going to, it's going to move upwards of 10x in the space of a few years. I wrote a big letter on that to my paid members. I would share you guys the tickers, but the higher ups have told me to just to keep that one on the down low for now. But there's a lot of potential infrastructure plays where if you can get in early, like they say here, Coinbase literally says, below is the ideas our team is most energized about heading into 2026. The answer to the question we get all the time, what should I build next? Now for me, I'm not a builder, I'm an investor, I'm a trader. I think about that as what should I invest in next? So I want to invest in the infrastructure that is powering the entire tokenization sector. And the one that I just invested in this week, actually, the particular cryptocurrency that I just invested in this week is moving $6 trillion for US financial institutions every single year. Ridiculous. $6 trillion. So it's by crypto standards, that's unreal. And so real world assets. I'm going back to the drawing board here. Real world assets. I want you to remember those three letters. Those three letters. If there's one thing from today's call, remember those three letters. Real world assets. Another one. Do you see all those ads? If I go onto Instagram, if I go onto Facebook, I just get inundated with ads about VPNs. Not XRP. I mean, Rick, I've got some bad news for you. That's in one of the three cryptocurrencies that I just think are just a scam. Ripple, I'm never owning that. It's just garbage. That's one of the ones that I just would never touch. I get a lot of ads about these VPNs, right? And everybody is obsessed with privacy. They don't want to track the internet data. Everyone's really sensitive after the whole what's happening in social media. I talk to my phone and I say, hey, look, I'm looking for a couch. I'm looking for, I'm looking for something in my house. And then I just get recommended ads. Like the data is everywhere, right? And people are becoming more and more sensitive to that. And crypto is a perfect place to build technologies with privacy, right? Because there's a huge misconception where if I send you money on Bitcoin, just because it's decentralized, just because I'm not working through a bank or anything, there's no middleman, doesn't necessarily mean to say that it's not private. Because all those transactions, if I send you that same $10 on Bitcoin network, we can track that down. If I send you that same $10 on Ethereum, we can track that down. And so there are these new protocols, these new technologies coming up every single day where privacy is first and foremost. And that particular technology that I invested in this week, there's also a big privacy layer to that. And so let me just go back to the charts. I want to share this tab instead. Zcash. I got a lot of questions about Louis. What's happening in Zcash? This thing is mooning and everything else in crypto is just dying. What's happening here? And this is why, because this is part of the entire privacy theme that we're seeing heading into 2026. If I send you that same $10 on Zcash, we would not be able to track that down. And so, I mean, it's a regulator's nightmare, right? The regulators coming into crypto and they're saying, hey, look, we need to regulate the space. We don't want people to be sending drug money on you know what? I'm going to add the chat on here. Oh, let me see if I can add the chat. There we go. If it's a regulator's nightmare, right? If I was going to send you $10 because I wanted to buy drugs on the internet and we wouldn't track that down, regulators hate that. And so it'll be interesting to see how this one shapes up, but I think this is a really big theme heading into 2026. And there's one more. I'm going to write it down. I like my whiteboards. I get made fun of quite a lot. It's like, Louis, what the hell is on your whiteboard? Are you like planning something? I scribble a lot here. I'm going to write it down. Proof of humanity. This feels like a lecture. I've got my whiteboard here, lecturing you about how to make money in crypto. Proof of humanity. There's this whole fiasco about, I wonder if traditional finance firms are deeper into crypto than they let on. They absolutely are. Broadridge Financial is really involved. This particular technology is raising hundreds of millions of dollars from big financial institutions. These guys are going to be sending a significant portion of their overnight repos via crypto. And nobody is really talking about that. And I don't understand it. Everybody's obsessed with meme coins and Ripple. Nobody is focused on the stuff that the CEO of the largest asset manager in the world is literally saying, hey guys, dummies, hello, it's literally going to be it's going to have a bigger impact than AI. And everybody is just sleeping on it. Like nobody really cares because it's not sexy. It's infrastructure. It's like the equivalent of building roads or highways, That's not sexy. Meme coins are sexy. Or Ripple is sexy, but infrastructure isn't really all that attractive. So people are sleeping on it, but that's where all the biggest opportunities are, particularly in crypto, right? And IWM, what a beast. What a beast of a candle. Heading into the end of the week for IWM. Small caps breaking up. People are asking me, hey, what do you think about Bitcoin here? Seeing small caps doing what they're doing. Bitcoin is just going to catch up. And so Bitcoin being flat this year, heading into 2026, I think it's almost like a rubber band, right? Everything is moving ahead. Bitcoin's behind it. You let go, that thing just slingshots. What's your opinion on Tom Lee's prediction of 100K ETH? I think we'll probably get there. Not anytime soon, maybe in the 2030s, but I think it's possible, considering, again, that now, Wall Street has just dipped their toes in, right? And so they've only dipped their toes in with the ETFs, but now they're actually rebuilding their entire infrastructure around crypto technology and a lot of the technologies that these cryptocurrencies are really just proposing. 100K ETH, that's reasonable to me. And so before we move on, I just want to say proof of humanity. WLD. WLD. Let's pull up the chart. Oh, that's a terrible chart. Let's get a bit more price history on that. This is WorldCoin. What is WorldCoin, you're thinking? What is this chart, Louis? Why are you showing this to me? If artificial intelligence is really going to take off, which it already is, then I'm going to ask you guys a question. How do you know with what you're interacting with online, whether that's real or not? Because I go onto Twitter, I go onto Instagram, I'm like, I watch a video and people say, it's an AI video. And I go, wait, hang on, this is an AI video? I thought it was a real video, but it's actually a video that's AI generated. And so that's becoming a massive issue, right? Where it's like, how do you discern what's real and what's fake on the internet? WorldCoin is one of the best, one of the best solutions where you literally need to scan your retina in order to get access to the network. So it'd be the equivalent of literally proving that you're a human being before even stepping onto Twitter or before even stepping onto Facebook. And so at least you know that the person you're interacting with is not an AI bot. It's actually a real human at the end of it. And so I think Proof of Humanity, Coinbase thinks it, I think that this is going to be one of the biggest themes in the next 2 years, because AI is, we're at this sort of level, right? AI is really beginning to take off. My siblings are starting to use it. My parents are starting to talk about it. But with how the technology is progressing right now, we're literally at this point where it's going to become more impossible over time to discern whether something is real or not on the internet, because it's just getting so sophisticated. I literally talk to my ChatGPT every day, right? I mean, what do you guys do? I mean, what's your relationship with ChatGPT? Because I'm talking to it every single day. It's probably not healthy. But I think it's just going to become an issue, and we need a solution. And WorldCoin is a potential solution, and it's more than a 10x. The chart is more than a 10x to get back to its former all-time highs. I mean, this one is definitely on my radar. I'm down 80% in orbs. Down 80% in orbs. It's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these corporate treasuries, I mean, I've been writing about them really vocally. I think they're dog shit. I think they are just absolutely terrible. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to swear on this. I'm probably not. So probably get yelled at a little bit later. But I think a lot of these corporate treasuries, MicroStrategy, Bitmine, these things are just criminal. People are just, what they're doing is they are extracting value from crypto. They're not adding to value. I'm talking about real world assets and privacy and proof of humanity. These are technologies that are adding a whole bunch of value. They're making the world a better place. MicroStrategy is making the world a worse place. It's adding risk. It's not doing anything. All it's doing is just making the entire asset class more risky. It's just a big fat Ponzi scheme, and it's gonna, everyone's asking me, hey Louis, what do you think about MicroStrategy? Is it gonna blow up? You see these posts on Twitter and people say, oh, MicroStrategy has their liquidation at X price. If Bitcoin hits 70,000 or if it hits 20,000, they're gonna blow up and it's gonna be a big fiasco. It's gonna be like FTX all over again. They don't know what they're talking about, because MicroStrategy is fine. They've got enough cash to pay their dividends for the next 2 years. So it's not going to be a violent blow up. It's just going to be a slow bleed to death. It's going to be a bleed to zero. That's what's going to happen to MicroStrategy. So I don't think it's, if you own MicroStrategy here, I think you just need to get your head checked. If you're a longer term investor, because why would you want to own MicroStrategy over Bitcoin or one of the Bitcoin ETFs? There are so many more costs associated with owning MicroStrategy. You got all the dilution. They literally diluted their common shareholders to make their preferred shareholders whole. And then people look at that going, oh, that's a fantastic investment. They need to get their head checked. I read JP Morgan is building on Link. What do you think about that? XLM is some chatter too. I think Stellar is a terrible investment. I think there's no real need for Stellar. Stellar was one of these early payment cryptocurrencies where you could send money overseas with Stellar. We don't really need that now. What's happening nowadays, back in 2025, is people are using stablecoins. So why would I want to send money over Stellar rather than just sending money through stablecoins? So a lot of these payment networks like Stellar, Bitcoin Cash, they're all dying. They're all going to bleed to zero. I would never touch them. And then JP Morgan building on Link. Link is really interesting. Link is actually going to be powering a lot of the infrastructure in behind these, the 3 letters, R, W, A. They're going to be building a lot of the infrastructure in behind that, because Chainlink, they are what we call a data oracle. Now that sounds really sophisticated. You're like, what the hell is that? They literally just feed data from the outside world into a blockchain because a blockchain's isolated, right? So you need to actually have something that feeds data into that. That's what Chainlink does. In order to do that, you need to pay with a Chainlink token. So I think as this infrastructure gets built out, I think Chainlink's going to be a beneficiary. All right. That's some good chat. I'm enjoying this. Are you guys enjoying this? A little bit of crypto action in the evening time. This is great. We should have done this earlier. I'm not sure what we were thinking. All right. I want to talk to you about the most ambitious cryptocurrency that was ever created. All right. Let's run the bumper. Here is Internet Computer. So this one came out a long time ago. This one came out in the last cycle. So this is probably the most ambitious cryptocurrency that was ever created. And why is that? You have probably seen some headlines in the past. In fact, there was actually a headline about a month ago. So this is actually quite relevant to what's happening now. I'm going to share that in a different screen. Let's share this tab. There's a headline that came out of CoinDesk about a month ago, saying crypto's decentralized solution shattered again by another Amazon Web Service meltdown. The October Amazon Web Service outage took down some of crypto's most prominent companies and networks. Many in the community pointed out their lack of decentralization. So what's happening here? And how does this relate to Internet Computer? So there's this misconception that crypto is totally decentralized, that it doesn't require any middleman. It's completely isolated, but that's just absolute nonsense because crypto doesn't decentralize everything. It only decentralizes certain elements of the technology. So they decentralize transactions, they decentralize settlements, but they don't decentralize stuff like web hosting and data and cloud. So they actually rely on centralized services like Amazon Web Service. So if Amazon Web Service went down, shut down, we wouldn't really be able to send money or do much activity on Ethereum, for instance. So that's why when Amazon shuts down, when Amazon has a crash, Ethereum and crypto is impacted. So that's a bit of an issue, right? So what Internet Computer tried to do is they try to fix that, and they try to decentralize everything. They try to decentralize the web hosting, the data, the cloud. They were basically trying to build an entirely new form of internet, hence the name Internet Computer. It failed. It failed miserably. And this one was probably the most ambitious cryptocurrency that I've ever seen. I think this one could actually come back. It was ambitious, but I think maybe it was just too early. Got some questions in the chat. My guy, MicroStrategy is not going to zero. Lol. It's a bit of a hyperbole. I think it's almost going to be like the grayscale funds, because over time, investors are going to realize that the cost of holding MicroStrategy is so much higher than the Bitcoin ETFs. And over time, you're going to start to see that dilution really kick into gear. There's just so much more cost. They've got the dividends. They can't generate income. They can't reliably scale their Bitcoin. I don't like it. I own a lot of Tau. What you think of it? What do I think of Tau? You know, I did this whole experiment. Well, it's not an experiment. It was this big project. I literally manually went through every single cryptocurrency in the world and was like, you know what? I need to look at what all these do. Months of work, hours of work. Just try to categorize it. I'm gonna pull up my sector map. Where's BitTensor? That's where it fits in. Yeah. I don't know. I need to look into it a bit more. Don't really have any thoughts. I want to talk about where Internet Computer is. Look, this one was literally the most ambitious crypto project of all time. And so why did it fail? And I think that's a really good lesson, because in crypto, there's a lot of opportunities, but a lot of them turn out to be snake oil, right? It's people that are trying to be too ambitious, and this one was just way too ambitious. Because again, it was trying to build an entirely new internet. It was trying to completely outsource stuff like Amazon Web Service, and it was trying to bring that in. So it was doing the same job as that. But developers were looking at that like saying, we don't actually need that. We just need a faster blockchain. We need a more decentralized blockchain. We need a blockchain that's easier to build on, but Internet Computer just wasn't that. And this thing just failed. It just didn't get the adoption. It has, don't get me wrong, this thing has got great technology. I think if there's a cataclysmic event, and let's say Amazon Web Service has like a black swan, Internet Computer is going to be one of the most looked at cryptocurrencies in the world, because people will be saying, hey, look, this is an entirely new form of internet, and this thing can really come back. But right now, it's a bit messy. But I think this one's almost like, think of this one as like an insurance contract to Amazon Web Service and the Google Cloud. If they blow up, this one is going to go up 100x. Volume is low, Louis. It's okay when the program started. Do you like Galaxy? Let me know if the volume is okay. I'm kind of moving around. I'm very energetic, as you can tell. So hit me up if the volume's not good from here. Galaxy, this one's a beautiful, beautiful base. Just look at this thing. This one's almost like an investment bank. They're like the investment bank of crypto. They've got their tentacles in everything. This is a great diversified pure play into crypto. And so, there's a few crypto stocks that I just absolutely love for the long term. MicroStrategy clearly isn't one of them. Hi, Rachel. Sorry, I missed the beginning. Gonna go back and rewatch. You're a legend, Rachel. There's a lot of cryptocurrencies that are just fantastic. They are just doing, Coinbase put out this tweet, and it was a great tweet a few weeks ago. And they literally listed, here's everything that we did in the month of November. And you just scrolled, and they just accomplished so much stuff. They literally opened the ICO market for the first time in 10 years for US investors. Like, these guys are just doing a tremendous amount of work. And so when I look at the crypto space, there's a few big winners in the long term. Coinbase is one of them. I think Galaxy is going to be one of them. And so you just need to be a little bit more selective. These corporate treasuries, I absolutely hate them. Okay, I'm not going to talk about them. I'm just going to get angry from here. Is Sui hype, or do you think that there's something really here? Yeah, I was really interested in Sui. Back earlier in the year, the trade worked out for us, but this thing has just faltered. And again, it just comes back to the fact that 90% of these cryptocurrencies are just, how should I say this? In a kind way. Most of these cryptocurrencies are just turds. And think about it this way. Crypto is this big experiment. It's people that are building new technology. They're just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Because compare crypto to the stock market. Anybody in crypto can just launch a cryptocurrency. Some random guy living in Bulgaria, living in his mother's basement, can launch a cryptocurrency. But if you compare that to the stock market, if you want to be a listed company, then you need to go through a whole lot of compliance. You need to have a real company, real businesses. You need to be actually making real revenue, having employees. There's a lot of work that goes into filing for a publicly listed company. Crypto isn't like that. And so, there's most of the cryptocurrencies that get created are just naturally just going to turn out to be turds over the long run. And so something like Sui, I'm not saying that Sui is a turd, but I'm just saying that it's one of these experiments. It's one of these evolutions of Ethereum and Solana, and whether it gets used is going to be another story. And so the base case going into any new cryptocurrency like Sui is, hey, this thing has got an uphill battle to fight. Is it going to win? Is it going to get adoption? Right now, it's not getting that mass adoption. So I need to see things change for something like Sui. Low in a kind way. And then I just say just turds. Rachel, I tell it like it is. I tell it like it is. What can I say? What can I say? All right, let's I want to back up. I get a lot of questions, and they're like, Louis, what actually is crypto? What are the sectors of the crypto economy? Because I am really interested in crypto, but I don't know what these different layers are. What are these different sectors? What do they do? Because if I go into the stock market and I buy a tech company or a technology company, I should say, my accent, you know, I had this interaction in California, and I was trying to talk about technology stocks, and I was saying the word tech, but because I've got a really goofy accent, they were saying tick. Are you saying tick? And I'm saying, I was like, no, I'm saying technology, like as in technology, and they just couldn't understand me. So I just need to clarify that. So if you say that you own a technology company, you immediately understand what that company does, what its business model is. But if I say to you, hey, look, I own a DeFi protocol, I own a decentralized exchange, you're like, what the hell does that even do? So let's talk about that. Let's try to understand what is actually happening in the crypto economy. So give me a moment. All right, clearing the whiteboard for you guys. This one's going to be another lesson. Again, I feel like a lecturer here. I'm saying this is a crypto after dark, but this feels like a lecture sometimes. But it's really important because I want you to understand there are these different sectors in the crypto economy. Like you've got networks, and you've got DeFi, and you've got infrastructure. Like these are some of the key sectors of the crypto economy. And so if you can understand these, then you can understand, going back to that whole Coinbase Ventures thing, you can understand where the opportunities are. And most of the case, there's going to be a winner in each sector, right? We've got Bitcoin. Bitcoin has already won the store of value competition. You know, everybody agrees that Bitcoin is the best store of value in the entire crypto market. So if there was a new cryptocurrency that came out, that came out tomorrow, and it claimed, hey, we're trying to be a new store of value, it's already fighting an uphill battle because we've already established that Bitcoin is the winner in the store of value. Same with Ethereum. Ethereum has already won out in programmable money. So if a new programmable money crypto came out, well, we don't really need that because we got Ethereum. And then same with money markets and lending markets. We already have Aave. So we already have these winners. So we want to be buying and investing in the winners in each of these key sectors. It's as simple as that. So we want to look at the networks. We want to have a look to see which are the strongest ones within those particular industries. And then we just want to lean on those. It's as simple as that. And so we've got stuff like Bitcoin. We've got like Bitcoin and Ethereum. These are key examples of networks. And then in DeFi, we've got stuff like Aave. That's a key winner there. And then we've got Chainlink. Someone was mentioning Chainlink before. And so these are the ones that we want to be focusing on. And then any new ones that come up are basically just competitors to that. And they might be candidates. They might be candidates that overthrow and other new winners. And we've seen that, the cycle. We've seen Hyperliquid has completely dominated the cycle. It's a new cryptocurrency that came up. I'll write it down actually. HYPE. Like Hyperliquid is a great example, right? So Hyperliquid came up and it completely just overthrew the winners in the DeFi sector, and it became the most popular used exchange in the DeFi sector. And so again, we just want to own the winners in each sector. It's the same as the stock market. It really is the same as the stock market. And so identifying the sectors, identifying the winners, that's what we're doing here. It's really simple. And again, crypto, there's a lot of opportunity if you know how to navigate the market. Having something like that, you know how to navigate the market. How about Sol? There you go. That's another network. It's a little bit of a different network. It's a little bit faster, but it's just a network at the end of the day. All right, you know what? I want to close up on something that I was talking about earlier in the show. Earlier on in the show, I said there are these 3 scams that everybody asks me about, and it like at some point it kind of gets under my skin. I'm like, come on, like surely after all of this, after all of these years, you would have learned something. And these are just scams and just cryptocurrencies that are just gonna bleed to zero over the long run, and people just keep asking me about it. And I just can't believe that people own these cryptocurrencies in 2025. What happens to Bitcoin when we tokenize traditional stores of value? Yeah, even if we tokenize those traditional stores of value like gold, it's still a very centralized market, and so there's still that additional risk there. And so, someone needs to go and mine a hole in the ground, and you need to trust the companies holding it, and you need to trust the financial institutions that are holding it and tokenizing it for you. So I still think there's absolutely going to be a place for Bitcoin. I don't think Bitcoin's going to be hurt by tokenization. It's gonna benefit. It's going to benefit by tokenization. All right, who wants to take a stab at one of these cryptocurrencies that I just think are scams that I can't believe people still own. I mean, type some tickers in. Let's see who gets it right. I know I mentioned one earlier in the conversation. Let me pull out my chart. Ripple, this one is just, I can't believe people still own this. Like, what are you thinking if you're owning this? Let me zoom out. Let me get a longer term chart. This thing has been flat. This thing's been flat since 2017. Yeah, there we go. Rachel guessed it. Ripple. I think this one is, look, these guys claim to be a new Swift system, but yet they don't have any real reliable relationships with any US financial institution. Nobody's using them outside a handful of niche cases in emerging market countries. Yet this one got to a $200 billion market cap, and it was the third largest cryptocurrency. Garbage. Absolute garbage. This thing is never breaking out. Even if we get a raging bull market, this thing is never breaking out. There's no way the market can justify a $200 billion valuation for this piece of garbage. Everybody's guessing it. Peter guessed it. Leslie guessed it. Pepe, Doge, ADA. ADA, that's the second one. Cardano. I mean, we could go through this exercise for a long, long time because a lot of these things are junk. But these ones are big pieces of junk. They've actually got decent market caps, and everybody asks me about them. Cardano is one of them. And you might be wondering, why is this a scam, Lou? Why do you think this one doesn't have a place in investors' portfolio? And it's as simple as the fact that these guys haven't done anything. They haven't done anything. Solana, Ethereum, these are networks that are just moving so fast. But Cardano takes a different approach. They're more academic. And so they don't do things unless there's a whole bunch of studies and academic research, which sounds really good. But in practice, they have just lagged the entire crypto market. And now, years and years after it's been released, this thing is a zombie. Nobody's using Cardano in a meaningful way. And now newer, better alternatives have emerged because, again, comes back to what I said before. Crypto is a big experiment, and people have been experimenting and outpacing these guys. I remember reading about zero knowledge proofs a few years ago. Are they still a thing? I think they may have been called arbitrum or optimism. Fantastic question. A zero knowledge proof is a potential is a way to verify a transaction on a blockchain network. Arbitrum and optimism are not examples of zero knowledge proofs. There's something called an optimistic rollup. It's a little bit technical. We can dive into that in a later episode, but I just want to keep this one a little bit more approachable. So we'll talk about that one in a later episode. But that's a fantastic question. I could talk about that for hours. So Cardano, XRP. What's the last one? Come on. I want some tickers in the chat. Give me some tickers. What do you think this last one is that I just think has no place in investors' portfolio? We talked about Ripple. We talked about Cardano. There was Pepe and Doge in the chat, which while I agree with you, it's not the third one that I'm thinking about. Because crypto just moves so fast, and you need to be up with the times. So the stuff that was innovative in 2017 is no longer innovative in 2023, in 2025, sorry. All right, no one wants to take a shot at it. Litecoin. I mean, this thing is just an absolute scam. And when I say scam, it's a little bit of a hyperbole, don't get me wrong. Melania, okay, well that's a blatant scam. That thing just went to zero instantly. No reason to own that. But Litecoin, the whole reason, you go onto Twitter and you always see charts like this. You'll see a chart of like Litecoin with like a regular scale, and there'll be like some arrow going to $1,000, and people will be saying, "Oh, Litecoin is gonna go a million X from here." I don't know what it is. Like these particular cryptocurrencies just attract so much cult activity. And Litecoin is one of them because there's absolutely no reason to use Litecoin. It was the whole reason why Litecoin existed back in the day was because it was this new way of sending money. It was this faster, cheaper way to send money compared to Bitcoin. Now we don't need that at all. We've got stablecoins. Stablecoins are far more effective. You don't need to send money with some volatile, shitty cryptocurrency that no one uses or wants. You can actually send money in real US dollars. And so a lot of these payment networks, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, these things are zeros. I don't like them at all. All right. How was that? This is all I had today. How great is this? Talking crypto in the evening, just relaxing. I don't need to stay up till 2 in the morning on the morning show. This was fun. This was really, really fun. What do you guys think? I think we should do more of this every week. I really enjoyed that. Got some great questions in the chat. Fartcoin. Yeah, Belly. I agree with you. Fartcoin. The Fartcoin is the is the most egregious example of something that investors shouldn't own, right? Oh my god. Ay ay ay. All right. All right, guys. I think I'm going to end it there. It was fantastic. Lovely for you to all join me today. And I think we should do this again, the same spot next week. Thank you. Enjoy your Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Cheers, David. Same to you. Hit the like button. Absolutely, Rachel. Hit the like button. Look, guys, really appreciate you all joining me. And we'll catch you at the same spot next week. Cheers, guys.